Perfect? Bang on my chest if you think I'm perfect. Go ahead, bang on it.
No heart?
You gotta have heart. Miles and miles of heart.
This is Patchwork Heart Ministries' Young Catholics Respond, brought to you by Breadbox Media. Now, here's your host, Bill Snyder.
Thanks, Adam, and welcome to the program, everybody. I am Bill Snyder. This is Young Catholics Respond, and thanks so much for joining us here in 2020. The show has been a huge blessing in our lives since 2017. It's hard to believe I'm saying that this show has been on the air and online for almost 3 years. We're coming up on our third year of Young Catholics Respond, and just incredibly blessed to have you joining us, no matter where you fall in on that timeline, whether you've been listening all 3 years or you're a brand new listener. Welcome to the program, and know that you can find us and find about us on pretty much any podcast platform, everything from Spotify to Apple and the Android stores. You can find Young Catholics Respond or Patchwork Heart Radio right there. So thanks so much for following us, and don't forget to share this show with a friend. And know that our website has so much more information. All you've got to do is head over to patchworkheart.org. You'll find out more about our ministry. We've got lots of great things in the works, and 2020 is going to be an amazing year. We finally have that clear and perfect vision, at least the year says we do. So anyway, on today's program, I'm blessed to be joined by my friend Ray Haywood, and Ray is no stranger to the program. He's also one of my partners on a new podcast called TRJ Father's Guide, or Tools to Ready the Journey, A Father's Guide to a Faith-Filled Family. That's the title of his book as well. And Ray is a devoted husband to his wife, Natalie. They've been married for 30 years, and together they've intentionally raised two faith-filled sons, Nicholas and Frank, with the foundation of faith, the sacraments. Ray shares in more than 26 years of willful fatherhood and parenting experience. They live in North Carolina. Ray and Natalie operate a small family-owned car dealership, and they are faithful parishioners of St. Thomas the Aquinas Catholic Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. So Ray, welcome to the program, and thank you so much, my brother, for being here and talking with me today all about role models and young people that young people need in their lives.
Thank you for spending this time in fellowship with me, Bill.
Absolutely, and now that I'm done rambling about myself, we get to talk about the meat and the content of our program today. And one of the amazing things that I know about you and about your book, which I'll give a quick plug here, is again, Tools to Ready the Journey. Head over to trjfathersguide.com to grab a copy of the book. But it's an amazing book because it really helps young people and old people learn how to pass on the faith. And one of the things that young people need in today's world is somebody to follow, right? They need somebody to follow in their lives, and how does that work?
Yeah. So actually, the book starts out and ends with before we can lead, we must first follow, and it ends with before we can intentionally lead, we must follow. In a sense of morality that brings us closer to our faith walk. There's so much that we journey through, but role models is our discussion today. And I'd like to know, for you, in your childhood, what did you look for in a role model? Did you have a specific area of your life that you looked for a role model? And then later maybe we could discuss as we've gotten older, I could share with you what my role models were.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to start, Ray. And certainly for myself, a lot of my personal journey, I've had to lean on other people in my life because I've had, it's no stranger to our listeners that I've had 3 open heart surgeries and a stroke. And so because of that, I've had to kind of lean on different people in my life, from physical therapists to doctors to my parents, to people who have shared their, wisdom with me. I think for me, I've always looked at, I have a need, have a, disability. I can't do something. I'm unable to, drive a car without some adaptive equipment. I have a knob on my car, right? I can't drive a vehicle without one of those. And so how do I learn how to drive? Well, I've got to go and seek somebody out that knows how to do adaptive driving courses, and my folks were amazing at that. My parents were amazing at that. But then I had to trust in my driving instructor. His name was Neville, by the way, out in Pennsylvania, and he taught me how to drive with the knob, and I went through all these lessons, right? So he was a role model in my life, and I needed him to teach me and show me how to do that. So for me, I've always associated role models with a deficiency in my own life, right? Where I'm deficient in this way, I need to learn how to become proficient at it. And so how do I do that? I find somebody who has that knowledge, who I can follow, and then I go and seek that person out, and I get that wisdom, I get that knowledge, and I get that study with that person, and oftentimes a lot of respect comes out of that, Ray. It really does, So that's how I would say I've done that.
When I was younger, when I was in my grammar school age, my role models were the strong men in my life. My father, my grandfather, my uncle. My grandparents lived right across the street from us. It was a blessing. And my interaction with my grandfather, he owned his own family business. He was a plumber. And from a very young age, I was able to work alongside him and watch and grow and experience things that, almost to be an apprentice at a very young age. So I was experiencing the strength of my grandfather. My father also taught me within things that are my interest. Like my father would bring home bicycles, and my brother and I would build bikes in our backyard and make ramps, things that aren't part of this world today. I don't think the role models of when I grew up, I'm 52, when I grew up, are the same types of role models that our young men and women as well would see. Or find value in, because the way we live in this world today is very much different than when I was growing up. And, our communities are now in our phones. But I believe that our parents are our first role models and help in forming our character that leads us to the value we place in the role models we now seek out. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't certainly be able to get through my journey of life without my parents. I mean, there's just no way. And I think that, young people out there, especially maybe adolescents in high school or even in college now, as you're beginning to find out your way, even post-college, that young 20s, I think there's a lot of people that want to, in a healthy way, break away from your parents, because you need to become your own man, your own woman, go out into the world and do those things. But you still need to have role models, right? You still need to have people who, because you don't know everything. You really don't. No matter how hard you try, you don't know everything. And it's impossible. A lot of 20-year-olds think that they know everything. I did. I thought I knew everything. I walked out of college and I thought, hey, Bill knows everything now. He knows how to get, I knew very little. And I'm finding that out now, right? So as you grow, how do you find that role model in other people, right? You mentioned that, you kind of use parents as that first role model, and then their example helps you find other role models and become role models for other people, right? But how do you find good ones? What are some characteristics of role models maybe that you find are helpful to guide you? What are those principles? Are there certain principles out there?
Yeah, this is a great path we're taking. So we all need someone and something to believe in and follow. This is very much an innate truth. found in our humanity. So to answer your question, I think that mastering self-examination leads us to realistic expectations of what a healthy example of a role model looks like. It creates a framework of a role model, and what a role model should reflect is virtue. We could go back to our own characteristics of the way that our thoughts lead to our actions and our actions lead to our character. And if our character is virtuous, then our role models will mirror virtue. But if our characteristics, our thoughts and actions are very much of this world, then our role models will reflect that as well. So if you're a young person and your role models are not virtuous, then I think you should spend a little bit of time self-examining. Our lives are so busy. We're bombarded with so much information through all of the social platforms that are created. We can't even number how many social platforms we have. And our eyes are our window to our will. And what settles in our will becomes what we're fortified with. So what we allow, with the content that we allow in, forms us. And if we're formed well, then our role models will be virtuous.
Excellent.
People that we seek out in our lives.
Excellent stuff. That's really good insight, Ray. I totally think, founding our own principles, virtue, all those things are so crucial to that. What a great insight. It's hard to believe that 13 minutes flies by this fast, Ray, but it really does. So I'm going to take that short break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with you. And I want to kind of continue to develop that, because I know that there are people that come into our lives all the time, and not everybody is a role model, but there might be people that you are meant to encounter, the Holy Spirit wants you to encounter for a period of time, or maybe even a season in your life, or for that entire lifetime as well. So let's take that short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with you on the other side of it. This is Young Catholics Respond. I'm Bill Snyder. My guest today is Ray Haywood. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Judy Hare was a bankrupt, homeless, drug-addicted college dropout on the brink of divorce, but is now a seminary graduate and devoted wife and mother of 4 children. What happened? Find out in her autobiography, Shattered: How God Restored My Heart and Life. Her journey of faith has been called brutally honest, truly inspiring, profound, heartbreaking, and life-changing. Shattered is available now for only $15 on her website, judyhare.com, on Amazon.com, or at your local Catholic bookstore. As Judy says, it is never too late to become the person you deserve and desire to be. So stop wishing for change and start doing something about it by reserving your copy of Shattered today. Hi everybody, Bill Snyder here. Just want to thank you for listening to this episode of Young Catholics Respond. And as a founder of Patchwork Heart Ministry, we have so much more going on than just our podcasts. Check it out at patchworkheart.org.
At times it seems like the world today is filled with so much division, bigotry, and hatred. So it's up to us to make sure that we get back to the basics, and that is Jesus Christ and his message of faith, hope, and love. Faith, Hope, Love with John and Morgan Bender is a new project that seeks to do just that by engaging and inspiring Catholics within the Archdiocese of Milwaukee and beyond. Read personal faith stories, interviews, and news, all by visiting the Faith, Hope, and Love blog.blogspot.com or follow us on Twitter at Johnny Bender MKE. Patchwork Heart Ministry is committed to sowing hope into broken hearts by helping young people encounter the love of Jesus Christ and His Catholic Church through prayer, storytelling, and media initiatives. We invite you to prayerfully consider supporting this mission financially. Mail your tax-deductible donation to Patchwork Heart Ministry at P.O. Box 563, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, zip code 53147, or visit patchworkheart.org to donate online. That's Patchwork Heart Ministry, P.O. Box 563, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin 53147, or online at patchworkheart.org.
Your heart is always beating, but you never have to think about it.
Welcome back to Young Catholics Respond. Once again, Bill Snyder.
Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Young Catholics Respond. I'm Bill Snyder. Today, my guest is Ray Haywood. He is an author, father, and just incredible man. And today, we're talking about role models and what role models should look like in our lives. And one of the big things that I want to talk to you about, Ray, is do all role models have to be older than us? Or can role models be the same age or younger? What do role models look like as far as our relationship in age to somebody?
Absolutely. This is a great awareness that we're sharing for somebody to scratch at and think about. A role model does not, I believe, have to be older than us. A role model could be somebody who's our peer, somebody who we shoulder up to, someone like-minded to us, somebody that we can grow with and through and in. We could actually mirror being a role model to that person as well. We should all ultimately try to be positive role models to all of the people we touch in our lives. So yes, I would say most matter-of-factly that role models can be our peers and should be. And we should strive to be role models for our peers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, I'll just share a quick story, right? I remember when I was in college, and I had a great freshman roommate. I had a great freshman roommate who is now actually a Jesuit priest. Great man. I don't necessarily I haven't necessarily stayed in touch with him a whole lot, but my college roommate was just an amazing guy, and I certainly went on to have my own friends and do different things and be with different people, but the incredible thing was that I always kind of looked up to him. I always kind of looked up to the person that he was and how he conducted himself, how he made himself a holy man, and it went on to prove itself in his vocational discernment. And I had, for a period of time, able to walk with him through that discernment as he was in Chicago for a period of time, and I was able to be meeting with him and talking with him, and it was very cool to be able to do that. But as an adult after college, but just a very neat experience, and somebody I always look up to. So you're exactly right. He's actually younger than me by a few months. So, but I always thought he had an incredible spiritual maturity about him, and was a good leader. So, totally right on that. Completely right.
So, what you're sharing with me, and something that you and I have spoken about off the air, is that gentleman, that young man at the time, spent a season of your life with you. He was in your life for both a reason and a season.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, why don't you touch on that? I think that's really important that we talk a little bit about the reason, season, and lifetime relationships, because I think that's important.
So reason, season, and lifetime relationships. I'm actually going to read this because I believe that it's an awareness that will give us a perspective on where we place the limited time that we have in our lives. We need to focus on our lifetime relationships, not that the reason or season relationships don't have value and aren't worthy of our time and our attention. But with the limited time that we have and all that we need to accomplish and do, our lifetime relationships should get the focus and what we build upon. So reason, season, and lifetime relationships. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Knowledge in understanding the measure needed towards approaching each stage in virtue will allow for us to better understand how to decipher and approach each stage of these relationships well. When someone comes into our lives for a reason, it is usually to meet a need. They have come to assist us in a situation, to provide guidance or support, to aid us physically, emotionally, or spiritually. They are there for the reason we need them to be. Then, without any wrongdoing, we simply go our separate ways. Truth realized is that our need has been met and their work is now complete. The lesson is learned and now it is time to move on. When someone comes into our lives for a season, it is because we are meant to spend time with them and to grow in our exchange. When we approach these relationships well, they bring us experiences of peace and deep personal growth. They may teach us something we needed to know about ourselves to better prepare a journey ahead. They usually give us an unbelievable amount of joy, and you and I both know the only way that we can share in joy is through love. But believe it, it is real, but accept that it is only meant to be for a season. This is part of our journey, these season relationships. Now, the last stage, the lifetime, this is what we need focus on. When someone comes into our lives for a lifetime, they have successfully traveled with us through the 2 prior stages. Our lifetime relationships teach us lifetime lessons, things we must build upon in order to have a solid spiritual, emotional, and physical foundation. Our job is to accept the lessons, love the person past their faults, and put what we have learned to use in all other relationships and areas of our lives. We all have reason, season, and lifetime people in our lives right now. People who are placed intentionally into our lives, in our path. This wisdom shared is placed with an effort toward making these competencies into awarenesses, tools, to be used to aid in self-examination of how to face and apply well the knowledge that it reveals. The takeaway is for us to place intent towards our lifetime of successful relationships in all of the stages, while placing proper measure and special attention in our lifetime relationships. Know well and keep dear what is close to your heart through self-examination and humility. Lot said there, huh, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that there's so many really great parts of what you were saying, particularly in the part where you're talking about how people can help us examine ourselves. Other relationships help us examine ourselves. I don't think that we often, especially young people, often think about that, because young people are geared toward, they hear in the world, be your own person, be your own person, be your own person, right? But, and part of that is true, but also be your own person based on the information, the wisdom, and the trust of the people that you surround yourself with, that are good role models in your life, because that's how you become the person you are God desires you to be, right? And as you mentioned, the people that come into your life for a reason and a season help form you. But then that lifetime, those people who walk with you for your lifetime are also so important. And some of those people we get to make a choice with. I think about confirmation sponsors, right? I think about godparents. When you make those conscious decisions, or those conscious decisions are made for you, those people are committed to a lifetime of walking with you in the faith, right? And so just think about that. Just think about, the people who are in your life for the lifetime and that you've chosen to put there. I mean, I use the example of confirmation sponsors because it's one that I would often talk to kids that I was preparing for confirmation. I'd say these people are signing up to walk with you and talk with you about your faith for the rest of your life. Whether it's your grandmother or your best friend in high school, they're signing up to walk with you for the rest of your life, or their life with you. And when they get to heaven, they're there to guide you too. But, that's the idea behind what I think you're talking about, is the ability to lean on these people to help form your own being, your own conscience. And then as that continues to grow inside of you, you end up flourishing as a person, right? I mean, this is natural. This is a natural part of how God intended for us to live in community with one another. So having these relationships and having role models of all different ages, is important. And so I think you're spot on with it, Ray.
Yes, and one of the perspectives I'd like to share to our younger listeners is that the friends that you have in your life right now are correct. They're your friends for right now. Many of us stay in touch with our friends. I grew up in a Catholic community, St. Mark's. I am very much in touch with the people that I went to school with. I call them my St. Mark's siblings. I spent 8+ years with them in the community, knew them my whole lives, but they are seasoned people. And when we're in our adolescent stage and when we're young adults, we may put too much time and effort into those relationships, and we step away from family. So when your parents are asking you to come on a family trip, or when your grandmother, we need to continually work on our lifetime relationships and self-examination. When you're asked to do something that you feel as though it's taking you away from your friends, understand the value of the time you'll spend.
Amen. So good, Ray. Want to thank you so much for your time today talking with me about all of this, because it's so important. And I want to remind listeners that they can head over to trjfathersguide.com for so much more from you. But also I want them to check out our joint podcast on Breadbox Media. All you got to do is head over to breadboxmedia.com and search for Tools to Ready the Journey, because that is a kind of companion guide and study of the book. So that's so cool. It goes chapter by chapter. I love doing it with you every week. So I want to remind listeners to go over to breadboxmedia.com and search for the Tools to Ready the Journey podcast on there, which is great. So Ray, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and really appreciate you talking with us today all about role models.
Absolutely. We could also look at role models as mentors. And if we look at them as mentors, then we expect more from them. And that's what we should do. We should expect more from ourselves and from the people we look to for our role models. Thank you for this time and fellowship, Bill.
Absolutely. Well, for Ray Haywood, I'm Bill Snyder. Until next time, from all of us here at Patchwork Heart Ministry, keep beating to your Catholic heart.
You've been listening to Young Catholics Respond, a radio initiative of Patchwork Heart Ministry. To learn more about our ministry and program, visit us at patchworkheart.org. Or to get exclusive access and early ministry updates, become our patron on Patreon by searching for Patchwork Heart Ministry.